Hello, Recordiacs. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, involves a daunting task of continuing along with the three unqualified agents as they safely navigate through the next three films of this blockbuster franchise, as we prepare you for the next installment. Be careful. Along the way, you may encounter breathtaking side boob, broken bones, fist-pumping, inducing growth of mustaches, and high knees. As always, should any of you be caught or killed, producer Nick will disavow any knowledge of your action. This podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck, Recordiacs.
How are you doing, Patty boy?
Three unqualified morons with microphones. This is the previously recorded podcast. All right, I'm assuming you have accepted your mission. Welcome to another episode of previously recorded Mission Rewatch. I am your host, RP, as always, and this episode of Previously Recorded is brought to you by our Redbubble and TeePublic store, where you can get all of our latest merch with our newest logo, tank tops, wallets, whatever you want. If masks, if there's a smog in the air like there is currently, we'll timestamp ourselves. Yeah, go check that out. Links in the show notes. Anyway, to continue this series of our Mission Rewatch, we just did movies 1 through 3. So we will be continuing today with the next 3 to get you ready for Dead Reckoning Part 1. To get this done today, bringing in my other 2 agents, Bob and Shane. Welcome back.
Nobody's seeing Dead Reckoning Part 1. They're seeing Oppenheimer.
It comes out like a week after.
Is he still trying to fight for more IMAX
It's their
screens?
fucking fault. Like, Paramount's fault. Yes, he is. He's apparently pissed. But they can't move it back because of Indy, and they can't move it forward because of Oppenheimer. So it's kind of stuck where it's at, and it'll only be on IMAX screens for like a week or so.
Can't they just re-release it like later on?
They probably will before probably Part 2 comes out, and they'll probably do an IMAX thing, make it. But that's Paramount's fault. Like, you knew when you were releasing this. Paramount has had a terrible summer blockbuster like slate. Like, Transformers is coming out this weekend. Right, the weekend.
Terrible summer blockbuster slate.
Yeah.
Transformers.
Between. Well, I'm saying, like, the way that they did it is, like, between Spider-Verse and between The Flash. So you're that week.
And between nobody cared about Transformers
Yeah,
for the last 10 years.
that's also true. Nobody cared. I look.
It somehow still makes $2 billion.
It'll do well overseas.
It does well overseas. We can blame them. That's what ours. Oppenheimer's ours. They can have.
Well, don't blame them. You're gonna have to put out a apology in Mandarin like John Cena did.
Yeah, that was for Fast and Furious, which is already on freaking video at home, which is
That's
insane.
wild. It must have stunk.
No, it was good. It was the best one they put out in like
Oh.
10 years, I think. Whenever Fast 6 came out, I think
It's
it was
just making no money. Like
It didn't
why?
make that much money stateside because people are kind of over it. But
Well, lucky for them, it's a 3-part finale or something, right?
yeah, it was supposed to be 2, and
So
now it's
stupid.
3. But yeah, so we've seen Spider-Verse, which we can talk a whole lot about, so we're not going to. We're just going to say it was really good, and you should go see it. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So there's a little fun to be had today. So before today's podcast, the guys were up here in Studio A, and I was trying to think of a Mission Impossible themed drink to make you guys. There's no ideas out there, and I'm not that creative. So this is why we have the wheel. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to spin the wheel. The wheel is marked 1 through 10. If you land on that number, it's a secret drink. There's some that it's a full glass, and then you can do a smaller glass, but then you have to respin the wheel. And there's some that's only small glasses, 1 spin. You will not know. You can spin the wheel as much as you want, but I just think because if I were to make a drink, I probably would make you guys 1. So we can start it off with just
I
one
emptied
spin.
the tank before we started recording, so I'm all in. Let's do it.
There's one that I hope you don't get then, because you'll be refilled. But Bob, if you want to, do you want to do the honors?
Do I
you
start? Am I the first to spin?
Yeah, you can spin. Just. Oh my God.
It keeps breaking.
It's okay. that plastic piece doesn't really do
The
it.
wheel gets
No,
no
I'm-
respect around here.
Well,
I have a wheel old school that I've had for a year and that we use almost weekly. And it's in better shape than
well,
this.
that's because the kids respect it. All right, give it a spin.
Okay.
Get no respect.
Get no respect.
My
Get
wife
no
does respect.
All right, as you can hear, that is the wheel. And what number?
You recently greased this wheel? It's
did.
spinning a lot.
Number 2.
Okay, so number 2 is a small drink only, and by small,
Are these all
I
alcoholic
mean
or not?
shot.
Okay.
Yes. You have won a shot of tequila.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I will get that for you.
That's an impossible mission if I've ever heard one. Let's recap while I get my first impossible mission. What were the highlights and lowlights from 1, 2, 3 for you, Shane?
Highlights was the rock climbing scene.
I have a lot of rock climbing notes through 4, 5, and 6 actually.
Low light for me was their most famous scene, where I said
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of boring when he's hanging from
so
the ceiling
boring.
in the first Mission Impossible.
It's like 20 minutes too long.
I think we both can agree that,
And their whole plan was to give the guy in charge diarrhea.
and that apparently is our peace plan tonight. So I don't know what his goal is.
You know what?
Here.
Never mind. That's now my favorite part of the movie. Their whole plan was to give this guy diarrhea so they could sneak in.
And what
Love it.
what kind of tequila is sponsoring this episode?
So I only have somewhat left of what you bought me as my housewarming gift, which is Avion,
Oh,
which is
okay.
very good, and there is a splash of margarita mix in there to make it a little bit.
Appreciate that.
I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
appreciate
it's supposed to
it.
be
I mean,
enjoyable.
I can handle that. That's a smooth tequila to begin with,
Yes.
but
Tell that motherfucker.
knowing that there's 10 more options on here that could happen later on, and that I'm driving home.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's why you don't have to spin it more than once, but you can.
All right. Well, cheers.
Bottoms up.
Mission accepted.
My ride home, ladies and gentlemen, taking shots of tequila.
It's good, right?
This is going to be a long episode.
Buckle in, folks. So you were saying your low of was the rock climbing scene?
High
that
is
was
the
my
rock
high.
climbing scene.
Oh, that's
I
a
don't
good
think
one.
they've
Rock
topped that scene
climbing,
since.
Limp Bizkit. How can you top it?
Yeah, true. You can't top it.
Shirtless Tom Cruise, you know he was actually doing that rock climbing.
Oh, I know. There's crazier shit that happens.
Yeah, he's a nut job.
Let's dive in to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
I just wrote them down as 4, 5, and 6, but I
Yeah.
have the subtitles for the
I
other two.
fucked up because I kept saying Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol mixed up.
Fair.
All right, so we're back for Mission Impossible 4. This is what Ethan Hunt's up to this time. Blamed for a terrorist attack on the Kremlin, Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, and the entire IMF agency are disavowed by the U.S. government while the president initiates the Ghost Protocol. Forced to go off the grid, left without resources or backup, Hunt must somehow clear the agency's name and prevent another attack. Complicating matters even more, Ethan must undertake the impossible mission with a group of fellow IMF fugitives whose actual motives are suspect. Released December 15th, 2011. It actually was the small release. It went wide right before Christmas. Directed by Brad Bird, his first live-action adaptation.
What else does Brad Bird do?
The Iron Giant and The
Okay.
Incredibles. That was him. Written by Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec, Andre Nemec, if I'm butchering his name, I'm sorry, did the 2014 Michael Bay TMNT, which I am a fan of. It went on to gross $695 million on a budget of $145 million. Rotten Tomatoes, critical, 93, audience, 76. And by this time, that's the highest for critical. Critics calling it stylish, fast-paced, and loaded with gripping set pieces. The fourth Mission Impossible is a big-budget popcorn entertainment that really works. I can't argue with that. I think that
I enjoyed this movie.
I think this is what I mean. 3 3 figured it out.
Yeah.
4 hit its stride.
I feel like after 4, they just kept getting better, too.
But and I guess we can talk about this at the end, but I agree with that, and I think we'll say that probably a lot tonight. But I'm afraid that it's gonna go the way of Fast and the Furious, where it just gets like
Gonna get too
Yeah.
ridiculous.
if Ethan Hunt's not in space at some point in the next movie,
They did, huh?
I wouldn't. If he is in space, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Put it that way.
but it's every crazy thing he does. So it has to be.
like at least realistic because he's
Doable.
going to be. That's
Yeah.
fair, and that kind of keeps it grounded.
No,
Yeah.
no, he will send himself to space.
Well, he did say he wants to film. He signed a deal with SpaceX a while ago. I think before even Fallout came out, to film a movie in space entirety.
Well,
He's out of
Sandra
his
Bullock
mind.
did that too,
Yeah, it's true.
and that was all real.
That movie's called Gravity.
Yes,
Which
and
is-
it's a documentary
There is a little bit of gravity
about
in there.
Sandy Bullock just
Love her.
floating in space.
She's blind and it's apocalypse.
Yeah, and then she adopts a large African American boy who plays football. It's a wild movie.
It's crazy.
She has to marry Ryan
her
Reynolds
range,
for citizenship.
Her range is so
It's just
impeccable.
that the plot of that film is all over the place.
And the fact that it's under
it spans
90
so many
minutes, the
genres.
fact that it's under 90 minutes is insane too. All that cohesively in
Well,
90 minutes.
she adopts the boy in space, so that saves some time.
Oh, he's an alien. Yeah.
Oh no! Well,
Did you see you saw the director's cut? See, our cut. That was the end credit. That's how the movie ends.
It's a teaser for the
She
next
brings
film
her home. Yeah.
called The Gravity Side.
Side. I was going for the same area.
Yeah, we're in the same region there.
All right, so development of this film. Despite the third film being unsuccessful commercially, Paramount was keen on making a fourth film, but it took until summer 2009 for the writers to be hired. So the last one I think came out in like 2006.
Did 3 have like critical success?
Yes, it
Okay.
was
So
that-
it didn't do well financially because 2 was so bad, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
But then
It's
after the
bad
fact,
word of
people were
mouth.
like, "Ah, this is."
But like it still did well. It just made less than 2. But I think because people had seen 2 and was like 2
I don't need
stinks.
these trash films anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I wish
So-
people would start doing that for Fast and the Furious. Maybe they'd stop
Well, they
making them.
Or
stateside they
Transformers.
did. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Which stateside people did stop seeing that movie.
I just want to say we got real close to Patrice territory there when you were talking about Sandy Bullock. I thought she was going to start
She's
knocking.
got to stay sidelined. We got too much to do.
I'm sick of it.
There, it's too bad for her to call it.
So JJ was unavailable for this one to direct, but he stayed on as producer, and Brad Bird was hired in March of 2010. Which I think JJ was unavailable because he was doing Star Trek. I think that came out in 2009. So Christopher McQuarrie did an uncredited rewrite of the screenplay, who we now know as to be like him and Tom Cruise are like best buds. Obviously he does 5 and 6, and then he writes, and he's doing 7 and 8, and he wrote some of Top Gun Maverick as well. So on Ghost Protocol, this is what McQuarrie said. On Ghost Protocol, I came in on the middle of the shoot to do a rewrite of the screenplay. Though they had already started the movie, I had to communicate with the entire staff to determine what I could and couldn't change, what sets had been built or struck, what scenes I could or couldn't reshoot. I learned so much about production being right there. The script had these fantastic sequences in it, but there was a mystery in it that was very complicated. What I did was he like tweaked it up about like the clarity of the story of the mystery. So he's like, the mystery had to be made simpler, and it's like reaching into a sock and pulling it inside out. It's still a sock, still all the same pieces, but put together in a different order. So this is an exact quote from him, and weird quote, but I think that's a great point of there's a nice twist, there's a nice mystery, but they're not complicated. These are not complicated movies. I think 2 and 3 can get a little complicated because there's a lot going on, but I think the one advantage to 4, 5, and 6 is that the plot is pretty mainstream. Like it's pretty cut and dry. You know what's going on. Sure, there's
feel
twists
like-
here and there, but yeah,
Because they went together, 6 isn't as complicated, but it's the most of these movies.
Yeah, I would
because
agree.
of the twists that are like, if you stop paying attention for 2 seconds, you're losing what the fuck just happened in 6.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a 20-minute sequence where it's just nonstop, like twist after twist after twist.
So this was also the first in the series to be filmed with IMAX cameras, which they filmed the skyscraper Dubai scene with, which pretty cool. It did really well in terms of the box office on a small release. In 425 theaters, it went on to gross $12.7 million, which is really, really well. And then it went wide, and it did really, really well. $694.7 million. Second largest of the franchise. And at the time, it was the largest of the franchise. So let's get into talking about this movie. So this film is really fucking good, in my opinion.
I like it a lot.
What did you think about the movie, Shane?
I was just happy that they finally started getting good.
I told you. I said 3 picks
Yeah.
up, and then 4, 5, and
'Cause
6.
it's like
better
Bob
and
said, 1 and 2 are kind of stinkers, and then 3 they figure it out, and then 4 they kind of catch a stride and they know what they're
Yeah.
doing now. Mm-hmm. They obviously have their like ridiculous shit that they do that makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. But
I got some good quotes from 3 or from 4.
4.
I had a good one too. But also one scene is kind of in like the opening scene where they're at the Kremlin, right? That eventually gets blown
it's
up.
the prison
No,
first.
the prison
The prison's
first.
pretty cool. That's a cool opening scene
So there's the
where they
film,
break Ethan Hunt out of prison.
yeah.
The film opens up, and they're trying to break Ethan out of prison.
Do that first, and then I'll talk about the Kremlin scene because there's just one thing that made me laugh.
Well, me too. There's something in the Kremlin that is one of the worst shot things I've ever seen. But yeah, so they got to break Ethan out. You don't know what the hell's going on. You're like, is this an undercover plant? Like, what is he doing? So he breaks out and he takes somebody with him, and it's this whole really cool fighting sequence where he's basically fighting the guards and the prisons people. So they get him out, and then they do this swap with the guy. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, that was cool. Like they hand it's like the cleaners or whatever. They hand the guy off so that
they handed off who he helped break out of jail.
It was kind of like that scene from Daredevil where Punisher's in the jail and like all
Yep.
the inmates come out and like swarm them.
I forgot about that scene.
It was cool. I like that scene a lot where they're breaking him out.
So there was one situation where they blurred "motherfucker" in subtitles. Like it's like
I don't even remember.
I think they just say like like they like instead of saying like "motherfucker,"
They
it's like
say it in Russian and it's subtitled.
yeah, and I'm like,
so
can
they
you get
blur it.
away with saying "motherfucker"?
Maybe you can't have "motherfucker" written on a screen.
but like you can
And be
say
PG-13. Because
you-
can't you only say fuck like once in a...
yeah. So I
Yeah.
wonder if you can't say "motherfucker" and but you could get away with it being in another language.
Is motherfucker worse than just fuck?
I was going to say, can you say
I-
motherfucker in PG-13?
That
There's-
kind of
that's
sounds
what-
worse.
that's
Are
what I
we
mean.
now rated R because we've said motherfucker 17 times in the last 30
Yeah,
seconds?
If
I-
this movie came out in Russia, would they bleep that?
I don't know. These are questions. These are
Or
not
would they
from
say?
I have-
Would they say Russian mother trucker?
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe.
Russian police are stern.
Stern but fair.
They're fair though.
I said Tom Cruise is instantly cooler than the previous 3 films the second he steps out of prison.
Tom Cruise, like... And I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. I think this rewatch is kind of like forcing me to change my opinion, but I also don't change my opinion either because he still doesn't. He's still not an action hero. He is. He clearly is. But I'm like, nah, dude. Like, stop. Stop doing this.
He's such a tiny little man.
Yeah,
They have
it's
to-
like he's an
it's
action
all-
hero because he has the money to be like, let me hang from that airplane, and like,
It's all forced camera angles to
Yeah.
make them look bigger.
But,
But that's what did it with me when I watched these for the first time. I was like, I don't like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I kind of like Tom Cruise. And then the Top Gun Maverick
Top
came
Gun
out.
put you at the top, but I liked Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick to begin with.
Yeah.
And I liked The Outsiders. I think my thing is, I like Ethan Hunt.
I'm starting to think I like him as an actor. I just think he's annoying.
Yeah,
in real
so here's
life.
my
Yeah.
thing. I think I like Ethan Hunt. I think I like Maverick. I don't even remember who he plays in The Outsiders. I like those characters. I don't like Tom Cruise, the human being.
Oh yeah,
And
nobody
that's
does.
like, but I'm
Nobody
saying like
does.
that's my issue. Is like I've just established that I can clearly separate you two now. Like that whack job is there.
Yep.
And then Ethan Hunt, this dude's sick. Yeah,
It's
I
like,
gotta go do something else.
It's like the J.K. Rowling of it all. You just separate her from Harry Potter. Like you're like, yeah, you're over
Yeah.
there now, but I still
Yeah.
love
This
this.
is
I
cool,
still like
yeah.
to enjoy things.
Yes, exactly. So one of the big things now is that Benji, obviously in the last one, kind of joins. In this one, now he's like, I'm a field agent.
He's
Boom.
legit.
Quick answer. What'd you do? I passed the test. Okay, great. Benji's with us now in the field.
And I'm
I
a big
love it.
fan of the entire movie. Benji wanting to wear a mask.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all he wants. He
That's
wants
all
to
he
wear a
wants the
mask.
entire movie. And he finally
that
gets
go-
the
yeah,
opportunity.
does that go-
Skipping ahead, that was like 6, right?
Does that go through 4 and 5, where he can't wear a mask through 4 or 5?
Yeah, I'm
it
pretty
was
sure there's
6.
no mask in 5, and then
And he wears in
one
6.
or
Okay,
vice
yeah.
versa.
I was very happy.
yeah.
He pulled the mask off his bench. I was like, he got to wear a mask.
Then we have a new addition to the team, Agent Carter, who's hot. She's very hot.
Jane.
Yeah, played by Paula Patton, I believe is the
Yes.
actress' name. So the movie starts off with her teammate, which also seems like lover, is killed by
This assassin.
this assassin. And then, so it's kind of a hunt for her, and it's she had stolen, like it's the assassin,
Wants
and
revenge.
she's stealing the nuclear codes. The assassin stealing the nuclear codes to get money.
Yes.
That's basically it. These diamonds. So that's why she
wants
attacks
diamonds,
them.
and then Willstrom, I think is the guy's name or something like that, who is like the bad guy in this. Mm-hmm. He wants the nuclear codes.
Yep.
He wants to send these nuclear.
So you don't find that out until, because you're like, why did the assassin kill her or kill him? And it's just because he's trying to obtain the codes. Basically, it's the same situation every movie. It's honestly, there's nuclear codes or there's some sort of bomb.
the new one. So see, that's the thing where like
It's the same thing every movie.
I know, but
They're just done super well. They're just done really well.
as bad as 2 is, 2 has like the coolest premise. Where it's like that's the one where they have like this virus that if it got out would be like the everything else is just like, oh no, they got a nuke. Like why is it so easy to get these like warheads?
And why is there so many? Why? That's for Suits in Washington to figure out.
You're
That's
right,
not this
yeah.
podcast. So, okay, this starts the whole process. They break Tom out, and then he gets his new reading, his mission. Should he choose to accept
Cool
it?
projector for the
The Kremlin scene.
no, and it. Oh yeah, you're right. That was in the Kremlin. That was in
Yeah,
the
so they need to infiltrate. The mission is to infiltrate the Kremlin and get the codes. They think the codes are there.
That's why I wrote down green screen camouflage. I couldn't remember what the fuck that note meant.
Yeah,
that's
I always make notes and don't know what
They
the fuck
they
they
put the
mean.
cool projector at the end of the
Yeah.
hallway. in
yeah.
the
So
Kremlin.
it's this very cool projector that if you haven't seen the movie,
Yeah.
this is none of this is going to
the
make
tech
sense.
in this one, and I'm thinking about 5 and 6 where it's like not necessarily as crazy. This is like because there's another scene later on. I know I'm like all over the place where they go in because they're on the run. Goes
Yeah.
protocol, obviously.
Yeah.
They've been
That
wiped
scene's
out.
fucking awesome.
But they go into like a train car, and then they like the train car like flips, and it becomes like
A
the
black.
weapons
Yeah.
like armory. And I was like, this is the type of like Q James Bond shit
Mm-hmm.
that these movies have needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was all in for all of it.
Yeah,
Like, all right, we got these
abso-
cool gadgets that are like helping them get this shit.
Absolutely.
The mask maker was cool, but the idea that they're just putting masks on, I'm like, ooh, gotcha.
So they have all that high tech shit, but at the start of the Kremlin scene, they release a camera attached to a fucking helium balloon.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because you're like, why?
And that shit works.
And it worked, and it went
Let
in.
go of balloon, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And then there was a camera. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. They didn't have like a drone or something they could use. I thought that was
Yeah.
I don't know if
No,
you
I
can
thought
send
so
it.
thought that
too.
was
But hey,
ridiculous.
the balloon hides everything.
ridiculous.
For
I don't
them.
know if you can send a drone up around the Kremlin. It's
You
probably,
probably
like a
can.
no-fly zone.
Yeah.
I
So they
guess.
have this
So
balloon.
it just looks like they're walking around with a balloon. It's actually genius.
It is, and see,
And
that's why you're not in the IMF.
Yeah,
shit.
Impossible Mission Force. More like
Go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
mad fun chain. I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna get a good IMF.
And that's
a weird sequence of letters, but I'm gonna get something here.
And thanks for listening to our
Yeah.
recap on Ghost Protocol. No, so basically to kind of speed it up a little bit because there's not entirely that much to talk about in terms of the plot without literally going step by step through the entire movie, which if we did that, it would kind of be the same for 4, 5, and 6 in terms of the mechanics. There's a lot of cool shit that happens. There's also one terrible scene that
Impossible Mission Force, more like Igloo Man for real, because that take was cold as ice. Shane. Oh, body bagged him.
But aren't they warm in igloos?
But it's cold on the outside.
Okay,
And he's
fair
an
enough.
Igloo Man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
fair
yeah.
enough.
Made of igloo,
And the cooler.
for real.
I'm calling an Uber home.
See you, Shane. It was nice. It was nice seeing
Hey,
you.
Mom, can you pick me up? I'm not having fun anymore.
So when Tom Cruise is escaping the Kremlin, it's when it blows up,
Yes.
and he's running, and he's clearly running on a green screen.
A lot of running.
It is the worst screen. It's like literally curved at his feet. Like he's
I
like
didn't notice.
it's so bad. I meant to take a video,
So,
and maybe I'll post it.
You
But
do more research than me, and I didn't look this up on my own.
yeah,
Do you think Russia was pissed about them blowing up the Kremlin in a movie? That seems like the kind of thing that Putin would get mad about.
I didn't do enough
Like, you didn't
research
see
to.
Do you
anything
think
about
Russia's
it.
mad that they're always the bad guys in villains? in
Yeah.
movies? Russia-
They're not so mad that they stopped
What's-
being the bad guy in real life. So.
Can you look up the box office for Russia for this film?
Yeah, this goes protocol, right?
Yep.
You mentioned his sprinting. The knees are getting higher and higher.
Yep.
Every movie when he
Need to.
sprints.
Need to.
They need
Old
to.
man.
He's older. Yeah, he's getting older. So
He's really giving it his all.
the Kremlin blows up, and then he gets taken to a hospital, and this leads to a hospital escape. They think he blew up the Kremlin.
They filmed in Moscow, so I can't imagine it was actually an issue if they let
Yeah,
them film
they're
it.
probably like they probably enjoy the persona as the villain. They're like,
I
still
heard they blew up the
looking to
actual
see if I
Kremlin
can
and
get,
then they
like,
rebuilt it.
they did. It was
box
paid for
office.
Tom
If it
Cruise.
was up to Tom Cruise, he'd be like, I want to blow up the real Kremlin.
Yeah. What if we blow this bitch up for?
let's just do it and just see how it looks.
You can rebuild it.
Yeah.
What, you guys don't have any construction workers in Russia? What's going on?
Why does Tom Cruise sound like that? You don't got any.
Because he's mad. He's mad. They won't let him.
What's
do it.
going on with that?
So he gets
You guys
mad.
don't got no construction
Yeah.
workers
So when he
over
gets-
here?
When he gets mad, he becomes like real South Philly.
Hey, Tony.
Oh
hey,
yeah, you
guys.
don't got no some construction workers? Well, you can't lose a building every
Hey,
once in a while.
hey, Mr. McCoy, they ain't got no thing over here.
Oh, Mr. Putin, what, you can't build nothing around here?
So then this leads to Tom Cruise Ethan Hunt being arrested, shirtless in a hotel in Russia, or a hotel,
Hospital.
in a hospital in Russia, and this this police officer thinks he blew up the Kremlin, and this leads to an escape. Tom Cruise is on the balcony.
Can we talk about this balcony scene for a second?
Yeah,
What a huge leap we've taken from Mission Impossible 2. This man is free climbing just a giant rock by himself. He goes out on a balcony in a hospital and he looks terrified.
yeah.
He's a little scared boy.
It's because he doesn't have shoes on. If he had shoes, he would be fine.
You think that's the difference? Do you think he wears Skechers?
No,
Yes.
he wears his own line.
TCs.
TCs, yeah. TC Tuggers.
EHs. Ethan Hunt shoes.
So then
But
this...
yeah, I was mad. I was genuinely mad. So that one of my notes is the scene on the ledge of the hospital is a big change from Climbing Rock and Mission Impossible 2. That is a foreshadowing moment because, oh boy, it's coming later.
It is coming later.
There was one more scene. I think it's before the hospital scene. The car chase where Benji's giving him like the GPS. And he's chasing somebody. Or is that later in the movie?
That's in 6.
No, that was 4. It's my note for 4. I hadn't watched 6 when I wrote this down.
Car chase.
I think he's on a.
Oh, yeah, and he has like the iPad upside
Yeah.
down. No, but isn't that his...
No, it's 4. I hadn't watched
That's
6
6.
yet when I made
Well,
this.
the one that we're talking about is 6.
There, no, in
he has
6,
it upside
6 he's
down,
on a
and then
motorcycle.
and then he has it in 2D.
Yeah.
'Cause No, that's where he's on
That's
the
when
roofs.
That's
The
when he's
roofs.
jumping. I don't remember this scene.
One thing I'll say about these movies, I hate chase scenes, but they do them very well.
Yes.
No, I disagree, and I'm going to talk about it later. They do
You disagree
chase
that
scenes-
Shane hates him? You
No,
think he likes him?
They don't do chase scenes well because they
okay.
really lean into motorcycle chases, and I realized they're not entertaining to me.
Oh, see, I thought
The
the
motorcycle
opposite.
chase scenes are like... 'cause car chases, you got like accidents and people blowing up and shit like that.
Yeah, motorcycles
Motorcycle
you can't
chases,
do
they're
that.
just weaving in and out of traffic. You might as well chase each other on a bicycle. Throw a bitch on a unicycle. Let's really call this a game, you know? Let's call this a real impossible mission. The motorcycle that's one of my notes for later. They really love motorcycle chases.
They do, because
Not
they do
so
it
much
in
this
2,
movie, actually. I don't think
5, and 6.
I don't
that's
think
6.
4 has any.
6
5
has a
one,
very-
6 has one.
Well, 6 has one that goes from car to motorcycle.
6 has 2, I think.
Yeah,
6 has a motorcycle chase. We'll get to it. When
but
we
I
get there.
enjoyed it. Okay.
I mean, I like them. They're not bad, but I'd rather them chase than anything else. And 6 also fixes that desire as well.
He escapes shirtless, picks up just clothes on the street and blends in, and that's the cover you see him in. Anytime you look up this movie,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
him
you
in
see.
like the hood up.
The
and
hood
stuff
up.
like that.
So now we meet the title drop, and we meet Jeremy Renner, who's joined the force. He gets picked up by Jeremy Renner, and which Jeremy Renner plays William Brandt,
It
and
is
the secretary.
The secretary at the time.
Which
yes.
this scene is really cool. So there's one ridiculous part where they go, Ethan, have you seen this guy? He looks like this, and he literally draws on his palm
Yes.
like a sketch,
Like a
artist drawing
It's like-
of the
it's
guy
like-
they're looking
It's like
for.
the leprechaun that was in the tree.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, have you seen this? And Jeremy Renner's like,
Takes him no time at all.
Jeremy Renner's like 5'8", brown hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
I got you. Looks him up in the database, whatever. But then, boom,
Jeremy
made me
Renner's
shit
like,
my
I think
pants.
it's a crackhead. Got hold of the wrong stuff.
So then the secretary dies, and they go. It's a whole thing. They go underwater. They escape.
Which Mythbusters proven those
Yes.
bullets are going deep into that water. They would not.
They
get
would
that
not.
far.
I saw that episode of
Yeah, it's
Mythbusters
good.
too.
That's what quick note I had right there.
I think every time I watch that happen, I think of that episode
Yeah.
too. I do. They proved that like they were copying a movie, but it
to
was like
see how deep bullets.
but
would
it
go
was
in the
like
water.
a colonial battle one, and it was like they were shooting through the water, but it's like really they go like
It might
foot.
be like a foot and a half, and then they just like lose all their momentum.
yeah
Those bullets were piercing that water.
they were. But before that happens, before the secretary dies, he says that the IMF has been disavowed. The president has enacted Ghost Protocol.
And then I pointed at the screen like
Yeah,
Leonardo
like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yep. I did that a bunch the past. They've created a rogue nation and there was going to be fallout. So yeah, I put it screen once every time.
And that's because the Russians and the U.S. think that Ethan did it. So that's why they're on the run. Renner questions
Much like
Ethan's logic.
Paul McCartney and Wings, they are a band on the run.
They are.
I had a good.
And then I just have a note that they just completely upped the fucking game with this one. And I have that same note in each one.
I had a good quote for about this part. It's Alec Baldwin. He goes, "Set your watch. This is Ethan Hunt's last day as a free man." And then I put, "Cut to 6 months later. He's still a free man."
Wait, is
Eat a dick, Alec.
is Alec Baldwin in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the CIA guy.
Oh, he's CIA in this one. He becomes the secretary in.
And then,
Spoiler.
next
Spoiler.
one, I think.
Maybe he becomes the secretary in 5.
All
All right,
right.
so now they go to Dubai.
Yes, and the bad guy's name is Kurt Hendricks, which is the most generic name convention for any bad guy ever. But, I mean, when your hero's called Ethan Hunt. so-
Wistrom.
Isn't that the next one?
Oh, Wistrom is the associate of Hendricks.
Okay.
So he's the one who goes into, but it turns out to just be him in a mask. I
Yes.
think, at some point, yeah.
There's a scene where Benji says they're like throwing out ideas of what to do because this is a very cool scene. So we're just gonna cut ahead. They're in
Dubai.
And Benji goes, "I'm just spitballing. It's not all going to be gold." And I thought that was an amazing line. But they do this really cool sequence before we get to the big sequence of the movie that they are setting up an exchange where Benji's going to wear a mask or somebody's going to wear a mask.
Benji's not in a mask. Benji is the room service guy.
Yeah, Benji's the room service guy.
Oh, well,
with
they
the
were
cool
going
fake
to wear
eyes.
masks.
And they were going to, and basically
The mask machine breaks.
the mask was going to be Kurt Hendricks, and then Agent Card.
The mask,
I
the
think her
mask
name's
machine
Agent
breaks
Card.
in this one too.
Yeah.
Because that was a big thing of 6 is that the mask machine breaks. So he's like, "Fuck it, I'll just go as me."
Yep. Yeah, but it actually breaks and like it
Fucking
goes
lazy
everywhere.
writing, man.
No, it's good writing because it's lazy
Then
writing to
they-
just
they
do the mask.
They do the same. They do the same bit twice though.
Yeah.
In 4 and 6, where they're just like, we have to hope that they've never met in person.
Yes. Again, that's what I mean. These movies are, while they're great on their own,
Yeah.
they do a lot of the same stuff in each movie.
Clearly, there's a mask
But it's
reveal
like-
in every movie.
It's true.
I
It's
feel
true.
like it's also like acceptable because it's like, okay, this one they do it, it works. So why wouldn't Ethan Hunt
Yeah, if
go
it-
back to
if
the
it-
same
if
bag?
it
Like,
works
okay, I
for
tried
the
this
plot,
once and it
yeah.
worked, so why not do
Yeah.
it again?
So they were going to wear the mask to make these two people think that they met without actually having them meet. And they have this really cool contact lens that goes in Jeremy Renner's eye that he
make
can
copies.
make copies of a piece of paper, and it would print into the other briefcase that's in the other room. So they give them the fake nuclear codes and to then keep the diamonds as well that the assassin wanted. So it was going to be a really good trick, and then they were changing the room numbers with this machine that I thought was very cool. However, things don't go according to plan, and they have to.
That same contact was what gave them up.
Yes, so they
She
recognize
saw
the
the
contact.
contact, yeah.
However, to be able to do this, they needed to hack the mainframe.
Gotta get to the server room.
They got to get to the server room.
Like the mainframe.
And there's only one thing that can happen. Thank God Benji grabbed the suction cup gloves from their cool James Bond hideaway because Tom Cruise scales a building.
Now we're rock climbing, folks.
So, filming the skyscraper scene. Cruise was attached to a harness that was fixed to a strategic point on the building, which required special permits for them to drill into the floors and walls and allowed them to break about 35 windows on the actual building in Dubai. They wanted to use a stuntman, but of course, Tom Cruise resisted.
TC, baby.
Cruise also helped convince the building owners to allow them to do this. So they're like, hey, we're going to come in and fuck
what
up
do you
your
think
entire
he
building.
says to these people?
He probably
Remember like
just
when he couldn't do the airplane scene, and then they're like, yeah, and then he convinced them that they could, or the train scene, or whatever one from the first 3. They were like, yeah, we're not doing this.
The first one.
He goes, "I'm a very high Scientologist," and then they
Yeah.
have their people go threaten their family,
Yeah.
and then they go, "Okay." Yeah,
all
you're
those
right.
crazy
Right, sorry.
people that we
He
looked up last
honestly,
time.
he probably just goes, "This is going to look really cool." Now, if we did a fake one, it wouldn't look as cool, and we know that that's your building. That's your building. You're allowing.
Nobody's going to Dubai to be like, oh, this is the building from Ghost Protocol.
So this is the highest tourism spot in. No, I'm just kidding. So
Everyone's going to Dubai to be like, ooh, that's the building from
yeah,
Ghost
if
Protocol.
you like search that location on Instagram, it's all Tom Cruise like was here and so was I on that building. No, but the initial plan was to film on a studio lot, but Cruise refused and said, "I really want to climb that building." So he was granted permission from the studio to film for 1 day on the building, and the rest was going to be on a lot.
Fucking maniac.
However, that quickly changed. After the first day, Cruise said, "We are filming the entire scene on this real building." So he just decided, we're filming the entire thing here. And it was complicated to shoot for a few reasons. So the harness had to be so tight that it actually cut off circulation in his lower body. The sequence was filmed on IMAX camera, so they would have to change the film frequently because IMAX film is so thick and you can only do a certain amount of like, I'm going to say runtime on a roll of IMAX cameras. So they had to constantly change that. They would then have to fly the footage back to LA where it could be developed over a few days. So Brad Bird couldn't check the shot in the camera. So they like had to kind of know, like really know if this was a good take, they were good. If not, but they were still going to have to wait to actually see the film get developed. And the helicopter they used to film the scenes could only film for 30 minutes a day. So,
What?
yeah. So they could only film this sequence
What,
for
with
30.
like permits and stuff? Like they
Yeah.
wouldn't let them be up there?
I think with the helicopter, like the altitude, maybe.
Probably
there's-
we're trying to
there's-
run a building.
There's probably
Yeah,
there's
that
probably
too.
laws with how close you can get to
Yep.
buildings and when.
So getting Cruise ready for the scene, the film team created a wall of glass to simulate the building to get himself familiarized with the environment and the discomfort of the harness. They even used artificial lights to heat up the glass to simulate the actual building temperatures that he would be experiencing at that height. So then there's also the part where he needs to get back into the building. So he crawls up, does what he needs to do,
This is smash.
and
the
needs
glass.
to get back out. And he's got to come out the same way he went in. And so he's like, he's realizing he's running out of time. So he's just like, F it, and just kind of free falls. So the scene
Oh,
where
you're talking about when he's coming back into the actual
into the building.
after the server.
So the
The
scene
server room, he just smashes.
he just
his
smashes
through
his
the
way
window.
in, yeah. So the scene where he actually free falls, it's like he kind of like runs down the building a
Yeah.
little bit, was the most nerve-wracking day. He dropped about 40 feet from 1,700 feet off the ground. The building is actually 2,722 feet tall. So then he said, when the thing everyone was thinking was actually voiced, which is, what if the cable snaps? Cruise responded with, that's not an option. So if it,
Oh man, look at him. He's like Captain America.
yeah, exactly. He's like being like Ethan Hunt. So
It's so an option. It could snap. You could die.
100%.
not according to Yahweh or the Zimbabwe, whatever.
Yahweh is God, and
Oh,
yeah, that
yeah.
one's defensive. We can make fun of Scientology.
that's
but
what I
Yahweh's
meant
in-
to say.
Yahweh's in the Old Testament, I think, so that's gonna piss off a lot of people.
So there was the fall, then there was the landing. So then there's this scene where he is like basically he's out of cable and he needs to cut the harness and jump to the building. So the scene where he swings and unclips is filmed on the studio lot, but the scene where he falls out of the window because like he lands and then they kind of got to grab him as he falls, was actually shot on out of the building, and Brenner grabs him like that whole scene.
So Renner like reached out of the real building.
Yep.
If I'm trying to be around, I'm like, fuck off.
They said
Don't bring me into your nonsense.
So what I read was Renner and Patton, who play Agent Carter, I think her name is,
Yeah.
they were on cables, but Tom Cruise wasn't. So I don't know how any of that, if that's
He
even-
has to be on a cable.
exactly, because I don't know how that happens. But what the head of the stunts, that's what the head of the stunt said in an interview with Yahoo.
That's got to be some PR stuff.
I don't know if
There's
it's
no
like
way.
maybe he was like on a cable attached to their arms, but like in terms of he wasn't in like a harness. So like if something happened, like he would fall. That's what they said, and I find that one makes the stunt even cooler, but also what the fuck is going on these sets?
How is that? How did their union allow that?
I don't know.
What if this was the
'cause
movie
Tom-
where Tom Cruise and Jeremy Renner both fell to their deaths?
Agent
Insane.
Carter just has survivor's guilt.
he's such a lunatic.
She already has that, man. Leave her
That's
alone.
true. That's true. And one final fun fact: Tom Cruise can apparently run 17.5 miles per hour.
I've seen it in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
Clearly booking it.
So that's the big scene. That's the most jaw-dropping scene I think in the film. That's the one you're like, fuck, this is cool.
Yes, to an extent. So they,
Very stressful.
yeah, jaw dropping scene for sure. The exchange gets botched a little bit. Then you have this chase scene in the sandstorm.
And this is what high knees versus sandstorm,
Yeah.
and that chase is cool.
Excessive. Goes on a little bit too long.
Yeah,
I didn't need that much of this. Like,
I just had a
I've never
note.
been to Dubai.
So-
is that like a frequent event that they have these wild
I would
sandstorms?
assume it's probably more frequent than you think.
Like, they
but
build that
not
up for, like,
frequent.
a half hour. Like, oh man, look at that.
Yeah, but then this
Don't
just,
worry about it. And I'm like, I think I should worry about it.
But then that makes the goggles even more convenient because now he has goggles from climbing. He still has on him, where he takes them off and puts them in a suit jacket.
It is convenient.
But then the bitch gets kicked out the window.
Yeah, so they kill the
assassin.
assassin girl. Yeah,
She gets her revenge.
for Jane. Jane kills her because it's all she could do. It was a fight to the death, but they don't agree. And then there's a dissension among the group.
Yes, naturally. But I will say, a lot of cool stuff to say about Ethan, but he inconveniences people the most in this movie. He's stealing clothes. He's stealing cars. He steals so much stuff.
I'd argue
phone.
that this is one of the ones where he's also being the most ridiculous as far as like forcing them to do things that everybody's like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Including the whole like, hey, we're gonna do this without a mask situation that leads to all this stuff.
Yeah.
And his line there, which is one of those Mission Impossible writers never fail. I think Mission Impossible 3, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Oh, there's another one?
Ethan, no, not that bad. Ethan hits us with the line, failure to a terrorist is just a rehearsal for success.
I remember that line because I would watch it. And you know what I went? I kind of like that line.
Motivational,
It
yeah.
is, yeah.
If you drop,
I'm gonna
if,
say that
if you
to-
take terrorist out of that, that's on a poster with a cat,
Cat
hanging
hanging,
from
yeah.
a clothesline. But terrorist in there. That's the only situation.
So no matter
where failure
what-
is a rehearsal for success.
No-
only for terrorists.
No matter what, they succeed. Failure is succeeding. Still.
Yeah, but couldn't I say that to like a basketball player? Hey man, failure is just a rehearsal
Hey,
for
coach.
success.
It was out on me.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Nick told,
Honesty.
yeah, Nick told me that
It's the
happened.
championship game.
Yeah,
Hey, we won, man. We won. I play by the rules.
yeah.
I'm
good
by
for
the
you.
book.
I would
It
be
just
too.
took another 25 minutes
Yeah.
playing fucking trivia
So the
pong.
one thing that we left off our last episode with was like, is Julia in these movies going forward? Because obviously in 3 he gets married.
So I did write that like
So
one of
then-
my notes early on was kind of just brushed aside the whole marriage thing.
yes,
But they don't.
they don't, but they do.
Like they do for the large amount of this film.
So they thread the needle and they lead you to believe that Julia is dead,
Yes.
and,
and
we
that Jeremy
find
Renner.
is responsible.
Well, they lead you to lead you to believe that she's dead for a while. She's just dead. Ethan Hunt's in jail because he killed
the people who
the
killed
people
her,
who killed her.
and it was all.
And then we find out that Bomb Drop, Jeremy Renner, was the one who was watching. He was supposed to be protecting, and he should have said something to Ethan. In his head,
yeah,
he should have
fought-
warned Ethan Hunt that these people were coming.
Yep, and he went and followed Ethan instead of staying at home, and they came back and she was dead. So this bomb gets dropped, and Ethan
Not only dead, they said.
like
What did they
ravaged.
say like what was left of her that we found?
Yes.
or something.
And, like,
she
they
got,
couldn't-
fucked up.
Yes,
DED dead.
the capital D.
This is all while they're like, we don't have the codes. We
Mm-hmm.
fucked up. They're gonna get a satellite. They're gonna blow the world up.
Yeah,
Ethan
Jeremy
Hunt-
Renner goes. Now it's time for me to talk about me.
Let's talk about some feeling. Hey, look, I know that there's a lot going on,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some stuff that's really been weighing on me as well.
I need to get it off my legs.
I want to call my therapist, but I can't do that right now because of the obvious Dubai situation. So
And
I'd
he
like
said-
to tell you.
He said I tried to clear my head while shoveling some snow, and I just
It didn't work.
it didn't go
plowing,
as
plowing some snow.
yeah, I know.
I
It didn't
realized
go.
what the joke was.
So then, now that they're out of Dubai, they know what they got to do, and they need to get in touch with an arms dealer to get the nuclear codes to kind of set this whole thing up. And that's when we bring back the person he broke out of jail, gets him in contact with his arms dealer, and the arms dealer makes a call to another who.
It's Ethan Hunt's the guy who broke out of prison. He calls, I had the name, The Fog.
Yeah, and that's who Ethan goes and sees while the rest of them are in this hut,
And
and
they go, hey, you got to go to India.
yeah, and they go to an Indian Tony Stark's party.
And that guy rocks.
That guy does
That
rock.
guy
He is
fucking
awesome.
rocks. He's a super creep, but he rocks. My note for this party, because what's the game plan at the party? Use your hot agent to seduce this man and get
Mm-hmm.
the information. Jane, va va voom. She busts out in a dress.
Uh-huh.
Oh boy.
And of
I
course-
thought that I don't even remember the girl's name anymore. The girl from 3, she got out of the nice Ferrari or whatever
Oh, yeah,
when
yeah.
they were
yeah.
going and trying to mess with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
The hot
she
agent,
spilled
yeah.
the now, oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I was busting in my seams too, boys. So Tom Cruise finds a way to kiss the hot agent.
Yeah, he
to
did
make
that.
to make the Indian man
So
jealous.
I found out that was not in the script.
It wasn't.
No, I just made that up.
I feel like I was gonna make that joke too.
Just Tom Cruise is just a hornball on set, so he's like, give me something
Yeah.
here.
So they need to get into this
My
guy's
fake God doesn't do
server,
it for me. So.
right? They need to get into this guy's server. Is that what it is?
Is that a euphemism?
Yes. He wants to get into her server
Now they need him to.
because they need to disconnect the satellites.
They need to get the override code off of him.
Off of
that
him, that's
he
it.
has. The rest of them are like in the room
Yeah.
waiting for her to get the override code, and then she basically just like strong arms him, which makes it hotter.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, and he's
yeah.
like all
He's
into
like,
it,
"I'm
and it's
in."
very funny. But then while this is going on, Jeremy Renner is in a Michelle Kwan style dress, like outfit. He's in like a very like figure skater outfit because it's like magnetized.
He's in the fan, like he's
Yeah.
in the magnet thing. There's a fan he's got to go through. It's heated because it's a server room.
Yeah.
He's got to trust Benji, which he doesn't really trust.
to catch him on this. To be fair, I don't think I would catch it
No,
either.
and
Benji's
that's-
just like it's no big
It's
deal.
basically talking about recycling stuff. It's basically the repelling scene from Mission Impossible 1,
Yes.
only using magnets instead of a line, where like he's like floating on air in this room trying to get to the server.
Yeah.
And then
It leads to a
big chase scene,
big chase scene.
big finale.
There's a cool scene where
Ethan Hunt is fighting in a
so they go. He's fighting in a Carvana.
car garage. Yeah.
And
Carvana.
I let out. So they have the nuclear codes in this thing, and he's just got to deactivate it in natural Mission Impossible fashion. He gets to it with like 2.2
Yeah.
seconds left, and they deactivate it, and it hits some tall building in like Seattle, and then goes into the water, and they save the day. But to get to the ground, because the briefcase drops to the ground, he literally drives a fucking car.
Yeah, he should be
All-
dead.
he should be
be
dead. He just buckles
if
up.
I'm not mistaken, it was either BMW or Mercedes. Because I remember.
Yes,
like,
it was I think it was a BMW.
Noting
yeah.
that to
You
be
look
like,
up their 5-star rating.
great airbags, right? That's a car you want to buy. That's a trend that is going to happen in every film from here on out.
Yes.
There are so many car accidents that he just walks away from.
Yeah, and he's got like a slight bruise. Like this car drops 4 stories straight down,
into the
head
ground.
first. I'm pretty sure the airbags don't
He
even
would
go
have gone
off.
boom into the steering wheel, dead, brains on the windshield.
Yeah.
But instead he gets out, he stops the code, and
Oh yeah, it's not even like he drove it off to
No,
destroy.
yeah.
No, he had to get out
And
of
you
the
know what
car
he
and
says?
deactivate the bomb.
You know what he says when he does that? Mission accomplished.
Yes, he does.
He says it out loud to himself. The only way it could have been better is if he said impossible mission accomplished.
I would agree. And then that comes back because at the end of the movie we get a Luther appearance, and he clowns him for saying mission accomplished.
But yeah, did you really say mission accomplished or whatever? I
Yeah,
forget what he said-
and he's
what
like
he actually
laughing
says.
at him.
So they have this like that. This scene at the table is big
Mm-hmm.
because Jeremy Renner basically like admits his fault, and Tom Cruise says he knew
Yeah.
that Jeremy Renner was there. So now he's good, and he's like, "I'm out. I can't do this anymore." And Tom Cruise is like, "Take the phone." Gives them all a phone, like he's like The Bachelor, and
Yeah.
instead of roses, it's like a
like the
phone.
cell phones, yeah.
So Benji's in,
Yes.
Jane is in.
And Jeremy and
What's
Jeremy,
his name? Well, Brandt. Something
William Brandt.
William Brandt's like, I can't be. in
they
this
set
anymore," 'cause
up-
He's got like the guilt because he's responsible for Jane's, or John Jane.
And Tom Cruise is like, "You're good."
What's his wife's name? Why can't I remember his wife's
Julia.
name? Julia is murder, and Tom Cruise is like, I know, I knew it all.
And then
right?
cut to
and then they cut to Julia,
and she's alive.
and she's with a dude.
She's with a coworker.
Yeah, but it looks like Ethan Hunt's getting cucked. Like he's like watching her be with people.
You should see him.
Fast forward.
they
I
cut
thought
a
they
scene.
kind of-
is getting tough.
Yeah, they very much implied that he was
Yeah.
giving it to her.
All right, so that is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Before we move on,
We
Ethan
have-
Hunt, before he walks away, he accepts the mission and talks about the syndicate, going to set up the next movie, which is a good ending because
Yeah,
it's
it
like, all
was.
right, yeah, you're still in the works. He gets up from this table where they were just having drinks or whatever, and he has the douchiest toss of money onto a table
Oh, yeah, I know.
that I think I've seen in any movie. It's
like crumbled up.
He unfolds it and turns over his shoulder and just tosses it behind him.
Uh-huh.
He's like, oh man, oh, there's a bill? No problem. And just throws the money on the table.
Actually, the alternative ending was him running away from the.
Dang.
He didn't pay it.
That's more likely.
Yeah.
The fact that he wasn't moving quickly or dangerously didn't even seem like Ethan Hunt.
So he's fine. This is the next day after all this shit goes down, and his face looks fine.
Yeah, after
Doesn't
that,
look like he just.
after he ran a car off of a building.
My only complaint about the movie was that.
the car.
Yeah.
It's going to happen again and again and again.
So that's Ghost Protocol. I think it's a great movie. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. This one, I really liked it. I think it really helps. Really helps bring Mission Impossible.
Shane's
into
recording
20
from a haunted house right now. I don't know if that popped up on the mic or not.
I hope it did, because either way, that pause is staying in there. But this really brings it up. It brings it up an ante, I think, and really brings the Mission Impossible franchise to the 21st century into the blockbusters that we come to expect. And I thought this was great, and this is what I kept saying all along, was that they just get better.
Up until now, it kind of felt a little bit like homework.
Yeah.
And then I got to this one, and I was like, all right, I'm genuinely excited to watch 5 and 6.
Yeah, I was
You know
waiting
what?
to see, because if you didn't like 4, then
It
I
was
would.
gonna be rough.
I probably
6
just would have.
especially because I was looking forward to Henry
The
Cavill.
problem
I just
with-
would have put all the emergency.
The problem
brake
with
and
6
we're
felt
done.
like homework, but it was because of the circumstances under which I watched it, which I think I told you. It was
was
just I had to
Sunday.
break it up over a day
Yeah.
where I had a bunch of stuff to do, so it was
So out of 5 stars, what do you give this one?
I'd give it.
And I'm grading on the high.
Are we
I
going
would give it-
halves or
You could do, yeah. I gave it 4.5, but I
I'm
think
saying,
I
are we
graded
doing
a little
just
high.
stars and halves, nothing
Yep,
in
up
between
to
that?
5.
I would do maybe 4.
Yeah,
I don't think it's 3.5. 4 might be pushing it.
this is the letterbox scoring,
About,
which
about 4.
I want to shout out to your brother.
Brother's big letterbox.
So
right?
yeah, so I follow him, and I saw that he's watching them, and I was like, I didn't think anything of it. Like, I
Watching the
looked
Mission
at-
Impossible.
So he's watching these as we go.
I literally saw my brother 2 days ago. He didn't say anything about this to me.
So he logged it.
We
and
have the weirdest relationship in the world.
I feel like I know more about
I
him,
know.
but not from talking about, just seeing the shit that I see. So a couple days ago he watched Rogue Nation, and I think a week prior he watched this one.
You'd
this one.
think, knowing that I'm recording these episodes, after you watch these movies, he'd shoot me a text and be like, "Hey, I watched Ghost Protocol.
Hey man,
what'd you think?"
he's just a normal guy. He's a normal listener.
I know.
They don't
but
reach out.
He's a normal listener with a connection.
He does.
And the fact that we both came out of the same womb a year apart.
Well, I thought it was interesting because I was like, oh, it's cool. He's watching them.
What did he give it?
He gave it I think he gave it 4.
Just had my brother on already. I mean, he wants to be me, clearly. Just let him be the co-host.
He gave it 4 and said, wonder if Tom Cruise, Brad Bird, and the screenplay writers Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec saw Sex and the City 2 and thought, let's do that. I haven't
seen Sex and the City 2. My brother clearly has.
TB
Enough to reference
Yeah.
it.
Is Sex and City 2 a heist movie?
I guess.
I don't know.
A heist for somebody's panties.
Sex and the City 2 ends when Carrie drives a car off of a building. I forgot, yeah.
But that's not what caught my eye. You can tag things, and he put a tag at the end of his thing that just said Recordiac. So that's what I was like, oh fuck, he's watching it for the podcast. It didn't even
Come
click.
on, man. Starting trends.
So
He
before-
watches
Brian.
that for the podcast, but not Game of Thrones?
Yeah, he probably watched
He
it
will
now.
never just listen to it. He won't watch them.
All right, so before we get to that, Shane, spin the wheel. Before we get to the next Mission Impossible movie, your impossible mission is...
Let her rip.
This thing's real greased up right now. It's flying.
It could get tightened a little bit, I think. It's going to go for a while.
Oh, no.
10? What's that? Why is that a no?
sour milk.
10 is milk. 10 is straight up milk. So you can do a large glass and be done with it, or you can have a smaller glass and have
Do you
to
have
respin.
cookies?
Yeah, can I dunk an Oreo in there?
I don't have Oreos. Oh, I think we do have Oreos.
You always have Oreos. All right, we're gonna do.
But
a
I
small,
don't eat Oreos. My
We're gonna
wife
do a
does.
small glass of milk with some
Not-
Oreos.
Nothing wrong with Oreos.
This lands on 10 again. I'm gonna
Are you gonna
toss
do
the
an
shit
impossible
outside.
one too, or no?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we should all do one together at the end,
Spin it.
as long as it's not tequila, because that's what I'll be trying.
I was like, boy, I hope he doesn't. So I hope you get 9 now.
I'm adjusting the wheel now.
Or 5. I hope you get 5. No. Go.
No, I'm not making it be 10 again.
All right.
What's 3?
3 is melon liqueur. So you get to do a
Milk
shot
and
of.
melon liqueur, just what you drew up at the bar.
I fucking hate melon liqueur.
You say that as if you like frequent melon liqueur. Oh man. Whenever anybody orders melon liqueur, I'm like, no.
No, because you know we go to On the Border a lot, and they do
okay.
like the margarita of the month,
Okay.
and they love Midori for some reason, and I can't stand
You
it.
talk about melon liqueur the way I talk about Fireball.
I hate
The
Fireball
Rumplemans,
equally as well.
like, oh, melon liqueur.
Fireball's awful. See, now I don't know. Do I do milk first and then melon liqueur, or melon liqueur and then milk?
I would get melon liqueur.
I think you car bomb it.
You drop that shot of melon liqueur right in that milk, you take that chug, man.
Fuck.
It's like strawberry milk, only it's a melon, not a berry.
God damn it.
Man, that shot of tequila was sick now. I'm more worried about you driving home now because you're going to have to yak halfway down the turnpike. All right. While we killed dead air, favorite scene in 4. Was it the skyscraper?
Probably, yeah. I like that scene a lot. The whole time he's climbing, I'm like, there's no way one of his gloves is gonna malfunction.
It was ridiculous. I also really liked Benji with the fake hand, though. I know that was like just not a big
You
deal.
don't have to finish that.
Benji with the fake hand was ridiculous.
I just like, thought it was super
So
funny that
ridiculous.
he just had a fake hand on his tummy the whole time. He was like, it was like the shittiest.
I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
it's a Benji when he was in like costume.
He had, like, a
stealing
mannequin
the
hand.
diamonds. He had like a mannequin's
He's like,
arm.
"What?"
Because when
that
he's putting it on,
nobody
you're like,
acknowledged.
what is he doing? Like, what is that thing? He was like blowing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best
Real
scene.
quick, he was just like, oh, and like dumped them out real quick.
So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna car bomb that?
You
Fucking
can't
hell,
car
I'm
bomb.
I think I need to
I would do shot.
I would
Maybe
need to
sip of beer.
take the melon,
Oreo
yeah,
milk.
then do some beer.
Oreo first, then chug the milk.
I want to smell it,
You
but I
should have
feel like
just
it's a
done a
bad
full
idea to
glass
smell
of
it
milk,
first.
man.
Shane, you don't have to accept it.
A full glass of milk and some cookies would have been so good right now.
Yeah, why'd you do this?
Because I'm an idiot.
Hey, man, it's an impossible mission. IMF.
IMF.
It
IMF.
smells like cough medicine.
IMF.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It smells like melon.
It smells like fucking Robitussin.
Dude, just take it. Stop smelling it. Drop it down
It
your
smells like
gullet.
mouthwash.
Down the hatch.
Well, Ethan.
Bon appetit.
Remember when Nick came on the podcast and declared himself Ving Rhames?
Shit. That's why that guy didn't make it to the second half. I know he's listening right now. Yeah.
Shout out, Nick. Love you, buddy.
You're no Ving Rhames. You're like Alec Baldwin at best.
Yeah, I do like Baldwin. in
He's
these.
good in these movies, yeah.
All right, so Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. With the IMF now disbanded and Ethan Hunt out in the cold, a new threat called the Syndicate soon emerges. The Syndicate is a network of highly skilled operatives who are dedicated to establishing a new world order via an escalating series of terrorist attacks. Faced with what may be the most impossible mission yet, Ethan gathers his team and joins forces with Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson, a disavowed British agent who may or may not be a member of this deadly rogue nation.
Yeah.
Name drop.
Point.
Released July 31st, 2015, a whopping 6 years after the first one. Or after the fourth one, sorry.
It was 6 years in between?
Yeah, because that was 2009, right? That's what I said. Ghost Protocol was released. Oh, no, I apologize. 2011.
So
it was 4 years.
Sounds about right. You figured 2 years probably to get the script,
Yeah.
a year to film, another year to get the stunts together.
So the movie wasn't greenlit until August 2013. So even though that they were developing it for all that long. So, but this
Do you
one's...
have this? I'm curious, and I'm sure we'll get to it. Do you have the same type of information for 6? Because I'm curious how quick that turnaround was, since they're like basically directly related.
Yes, I do.
Okay, because 6 is essentially, 3. That's the other thing.
So-
1, 2, 3 felt like 3 movies.
So
3, 4, 5 felt like a series. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
sure. So this
4,
one,
5, 6.
Hey, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you
1,
meant.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
so
Too
this
busy watching you dip Oreos and trying to listen to RP pronounce operative for the first time.
So this one was released July 31st, 2015. The sixth one was greenlit July 28th of 2015. So
like,
3
right, yeah,
days
okay, yeah.
before he confirmed that the sixth was in development.
Like, we're doing this.
So this one was directed by Christopher McQuarrie. He previously had directed Tom Cruise's Jack Reacher, and also written by McQuarrie.
Don't like Jack Reacher. Don't like Minority Report. I forgot there's Tom Cruise movies. I don't.
Minority Report's Steven Spielberg too.
I don't like a lot about that though. It's not just Tom Cruise that I don't like in that movie. Go ahead, as you were.
Critical 94%, audience 87%. Critics saying Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation continues the franchise's thrilling resurgence and proves that Tom Cruise remains an action star without equal. Gross 680.
In height.
Oh, got him. Grossed $682.7 million on a budget of $150 million, which is less than 5. So 5 made less than 4. It was greenlit in August of 2013. And filming took a brief pause near the end so McQuarrie and Cruise could rework the ending. So whatever the ending we see in this film isn't the original ending. But I like the ending of this one, so I guess it worked out. And it was originally supposed to be released in Christmas 2015, but they moved it back to summer to avoid releasing with James Bond's Spectre and The Force Awakens. Kind of a situation they're running into this summer with Dead Reckoning. So the marketing, they spent $42 million to market this film, which is relatively low. Usually you see about 100 to 150 million spent on marketing nowadays. Box office, it did well. I'm not going to go into all the details of it. But this movie opens up with the airplane scene. That's kind of like, I don't remember if that's like the right away, but it feels...
No, it's right, because Ethan's not there yet. It's Benji in the field.
Yes.
And they call in like, hey, Ethan, where are you at? And he's like, I'm on the airplane. Or he starts yelling at Benji to open the door. He opens
and he's just like, open the door!
Yeah. They need to get on the airplane. I forget even what's on the airplane, to be honest.
Whatever the payload is. Like, they got to get the payload.
It might be just nuclear warheads or something like that.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
So
also, on that airplane, I know you're going to go into the details about the scene. Alexi from Stranger Things.
Yep. He's on the
Like
airplane.
just like a minion, like a random, I don't know, what's the word?
He's just a Russian bad guy.
Henchman,
Henchman.
bad henchman on the plane. I was like, ooh!
Yeah.
Point at the screen again.
Yeah.
I'm really...
Me and Audrey did. Audrey was like, that's Alexi.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah,
I'm
I was
living
literally
once upon a
writing
time in
down.
Hollywood when I watch these movies.
So the filming of the airplane scene is one of the two big scenes from Rogue Nation. So the scene wasn't originally in the script. McQuarrie came up with the idea of Cruise hanging from an airplane and was like, we're doing that.
Cruise must have loved that.
Yeah, he was
The
like,
director
this is why
come-
he's like
yeah.
his partner
The
now.
director comes up and he's like, hey, man, what if we just hung you off the side of an airplane?
And he's
Fuck,
like-
why not think of that?
And then he quits and gets him fired. Cruise insisted on doing it with no stuntmen and no green screen. So McQuarrie and Wade Eastwood, who's the stunt coordinator, shot 8 different takes of the airplane at 5,000 feet, and it took off at a slightly harder angle than a traditional cargo plane would take off at the right shot. So to get the right shot, my God. So Bob just opened a beer and Shane handed him his milk glass to fill it up. So going at 260 miles per hour, Cruise was latched into a harness that was connected to the interior of the plane with bolts and wires. And then that was the only CGI needed on the scene was to edit out all that, like the
He's
harness.
legitimately a crazy person.
It's pretty nuts.
Like I love his commitment to being an action star, but like he's insane.
Yes, he is insane.
What goes through your head that you think you want to hang outside of a fucking airplane?
The fact that it works. That's
That's
the thing.
ridiculous.
And then Cruise had to wear special contact lenses to protect his eyes from the wind and potential debris. So that's like the only, like the behind the scenes on the airplane scene, even though Bob was saying that, that we were talking before we were recording and like that was the one thing in the marketing where we saw like kind of a behind the scenes look was always about that scene. Like, because that was even used as just a poster. Like they really marketed the shit out of that.
They use that to push the movie.
Yeah.
Like, look how crazy our stunts are. You want to see this.
So that's the opening scene, a way to kick off a movie. Probably, if you really want to show a guy, you do this and you don't do the rock climbing scene. Like, What did he say? What did he say?
It would have been better with Limp Bizkit, though.
It would have been.
So here, do you think that is why their marketing was so much lower?
Because they were
instead of like, I mean, I'm sure they still had trailers as well, but like their big trailer was just
him
footage of them filming a scene. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't have to create trailers. And
I
pitch the
remember every
trailers out.
time.
I don't know how that works.
Every
but,
time
like,
we'd go to the movies, we would
it
see
was
a
that
trailer
scene.
of him hanging out the same.
And it was just like that one. He was just kind of strapped into the side of the airplane. Like I remember that vividly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what year was this?
2015. So this is when I worked at the
what-
movie. So
okay.
I remember.
I'm trying to figure out like what we would have been seeing.
I remember that poster because this was when I worked when I switched to Franklin Mills. And do you remember?
More like that poser, Tom Cruise, not really an action star.
You remember how they had them? Well, I mean, some movie theaters do it, but this at the time, this theater was showing the poster of the movie like outside the theater. Like, there's a theater up by me that has movie posters all over. So the first time I went there, I was like, why is there a poster for, I don't know, let's just say Mario when I paid to see Black Panther?
Yeah.
Like, but Franklin Mills used to do, that's the theater.
You knew which theater you were going into because it had. I remember.
It had the poster. So that was the poster I always saw was Tom Cruise hanging on the side.
Yeah.
And then that movie was just constantly playing that summer. So I was like, who cares about this movie? I never want to see this movie. Cut to,
We're doing a podcast.
we're doing a
about it.
podcast about this movie.
That was
Which,
you,
if it
right?
wasn't for COVID, I don't know if I ever would have saw these movies.
The
which I
plane
talked
scene
about.
is ridiculous. It's not as. It's not the most intense scene in this movie by
No,
any means.
no.
This of all the movies was like the one that gave me anxiety on multiple occasions.
6 did for me.
Well, I mean, I gotta look at 6 again, but 5 for sure. It's cool,
Yes.
but it's like okay, and that's done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just.
Well, I think
it's-
also because of what I've seen like already. So you guys are going through it like one perspective. Like for me, it's
You'd
like
seen what
I
happens
know
later.
what he does later. I know what he does in other movies, and I'm like, this is kind of insane, but it's like not that impressive. Like I don't want to say it's not that impressive because it is. It's impressive. Even if it takes balls to go up there and do all the stuff that he does. But to me, climbing the Dubai thing, like the building was scary.
Yeah.
Though I mean, but you're going so fast to it, like you're fully out of control. At least with the harness, like there's a set, there's a crew, like it's really just him on there, and they're doing that takeoff. So it isn't crazy. It's very impressive, and I appreciate as a film fan that not only they did it, but that it was Cruise doing it. I think that's very putting stunt guys out of work. So not cool.
Just for his ego.
So that's the big scene. They get the payload out, and then it cuts to the music. I don't remember. No, because the music comes up next. So this is the coolest, I think, of all the movies, the coolest reveal of the mission. So he goes to the record store, and
Dude, the girl at the record store. My note is the girl at the shop is a bait. Mm-hmm. And then ... She's dead.
yes. So the record plays, and it reveals the mission to him. It's like a projector, and it's basically he's set up because it's a mission from the syndicate, right?
Yeah, it's a syndicate. He looks out the little like
Window
listening
box.
room that he's in. The door's locked.
And the
Solomon
smoke.
Lane is standing there. Brat!
Yep. And he kills.
Taps the girl from the record store back of the head
Yeah.
and smoke screen.
Yep.
And then Deuces Rogers, and then they're all gone.
And so this is rehashing Mission Impossible 2 because he's met his equal. The syndicate, Solomon Lane, is supposed to be Cruise's equal.
I would argue that 3.
Is that what they did? No, 2 was like the
2 is
other
the former
agent.
agent. 3 is Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's the equal, where he's like always a step ahead.
Yeah, but so repeating itself, but doing it in a cooler way.
And Solomon Lane becomes his equal for the next 2 movies, where it's like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing. He's a step ahead of me. Before we even get there, we get the Bone Doctor.
Yeah, so this is what I want to get into. So it does, and then I think because the smoke fills up, and then because they don't do the intro until he's running, until he escapes the Bone Doctor.
Yeah.
So we're in a long series of events until the theme starts playing.
Yes.
So you're up to date. The IMF is shut down because of all these events, and it's Jeremy Renner versus Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin's the head of the CIA, and he's saying we need to shut down the IMF, and they believe that the syndicate is all a figment of Tom Cruise's imagination to justify all of his actions. So they think he needs to be shut down and he should be brought in. That's the plot of the movie. That's the IMF. They are a team of rogue agents on the run, and they're after Ethan Hunt once again.
My early prediction: Alec Baldwin is the bad guy. He's in the syndicate. I'm calling it now. Was very wrong.
It was very wrong.
I was very wrong.
Which
But
but
I
Alec
wrote
Baldwin
that
didn't
note
Didn't
down.
they
I was
lead
calling
you to
shots.
believe that was right though?
Not really. He was just such a dick, but he was a dick because he was like Ethan Hunt's rogue. Like he's
See, we planned this out way too long ago. I'm mixing all these movies together. I should have
did.
waited till like this week to watch them.
nah. So this is
We'll catch it
this is
back up.
before Alec Baldwin is the secretary.
Shane, you know what?
Spoiler alert.
Your perspective is for the listeners who haven't seen the movies. So that
Yeah, there you go.
you know,
He wants Hunt brought in.
and because Ethan, they're blaming like the Kremlin and all this stuff,
Yeah,
even though
I
he's
remember
been
this.
even though at the end of the last one they were like, okay, this was really him. This one,
So this is the beginning where Alec Baldwin is like the guy who wants him brought in.
so
Grant
he's
is working for him
I'm
now.
thinking of something that happens in 6.
so Shane. So this one, and for you listeners out there, the plot of this movie is that Ethan's been trying to push this syndicate narrative and telling them there's somebody running the syndicate group that is causing all these issues when all these issues happen to be in situations
It's
Tom
like
Cruise is in, and they're like, no, this is a figment of your imagination to justify
But it's
your
like
means.
the Kremlin, and then it's like the Malaysian airplane that fall, like like the syndicate is responsible for all these bad things. that
Yeah, and they
happen.
show you in the recap, and then
Around the
in the
world,
message
yeah.
part, they show you everything.
I
And
remember
so this
this.
is where he comes face to face in the beginning of the movie with Solomon Lane for the first time, and they kidnap him and they take him to the Bone Doctor, which is basically just this guy who's they want to get information out of Ethan, who's going to get it through pain, and has this whole set of tools. And this is where we meet Rebecca Ferguson's character, Isla Faust, who you don't know what the fuck's going on with her. So they come into like attack, and then Tom Cruise, fucking in handcuffs, shirtless, shimmies up the pole. Which is fucking ridiculous.
Bone
Audra
Doctor.
said that this is just a movie for him to show off his parkour skills.
Yep.
That was her note she wanted me to add.
Cut that.
And then she helps him get away, and he's like, "Who are you?" And she has a British accent, so he's like, "Well, you're not an IMF agent, but like, who are you?" And she like won't tell him, and then he runs away and gets away, and that's the start of the theme, and that kind of kicks off the movie. And we don't have to go. We can kind of go broad. A lot of these things are the same, so we can kind of go broad strokes through the film. We don't have to go
give you a
line by
broad
line.
stroke.
Please do. I haven't been touched in weeks.
Nicely placed crack.
Yeah.
So this is when Alec Baldwin says, "I hope Ethan Hunt enjoys his last days a free man." And then it cuts to 6 months later, and
Yeah.
he's got a beard, and I don't like it with a beard.
Now, so
Wait, is it this movie? Did I write the quote down too early?
Yeah.
dude, you're all over the place, man.
But I wrote this note before I watched 5, though.
What's the quote?
Set your watch. This is Ethan Hunt's last day as a free man.
No, yeah, that's.
Maybe you watch this one first.
No.
You sure you
Don't
weren't
start
watching
that.
the Temple?
I'm just saying
You should-
because they're numbered.
Were you watching
but if
the
I-
Last
Oh,
Crusade?
that's what I did.
Did you put it under the wrong thing?
I started taking notes for this movie, and I put 4 instead of 5. Because I wrote MI4 twice.
Okay. All right, we're back.
I just fucked up.
Yeah,
So I said that
yeah,
quote.
it's
I said that
because
quote too soon.
Alec Baldwin as like the bureaucrat in the next two films. Solid. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's great as an agent.
You can tell that he's like. I'm not gonna make a joke. Actually, I take it back.
Yeah,
People's-
yeah, just take it back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people's
take it back.
lives were lost. I'm not gonna do it.
All right, so Ethan's still on the run, and Benji is now working for the CIA, and because the IMF is
He's
no
like
longer
bored.
around,
Wah,
and he's
Benji's
bored, and they bring him in for.
he has to do like lie detector
Lie
tests,
detector
all,
tests
the
all the time.
Do you know where Ethan Hunt is?
And then so he wins a trip to Rome for an opera,
It's
or
Vienna.
no,
It's
Vienna.
the Vienna
That's it,
Opera
Vienna.
House. It's kind of a famous place.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry. And he thinks he actually won, and then he gets a call.
as soon as he gets there.
What a bonehead.
I know, because it's like the
Did he
most.
like try to win it? Like that's what I wanted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In
Did
my
you-
head, I'm like, did you try to get?
Did you
into it?
enter a contest?
Yeah, or
You're
did
a
you just
bonehead.
think like Vienna randomly selected you?
Yeah.
I've been waiting for my whole life
Yeah.
for this moment.
It's like Publishers Clearinghouse. Like they show up at your door with a big check. Like, is that what he thought?
So Ethan needs his help. and it's his help to catch Solomon Lane, who's also going to be there to take out the Prime Minister of Vienna. That's what they're going after?
Yeah, it's the Chancellor, but Austrian Chancellor.
Okay.
Same difference. So they go to this opera house. Mm-hmm. And
Rebecca Ferguson's there. She's a total fucking babe.
Ilsa Faust.
Ilsa Faust.
Yeah,
if you've seen Dune,
refer
she's
to
in
her by her
Dune.
name.
She's in Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
She's going to be around. She is a babe. That scene, that entire opera house scene, it's like chef's kiss as far as creating tension.
Yeah.
Because there's Benji, who's like lost, kind of sometimes. Like he doesn't know where people are, or he's confused because he hasn't been back in the field. He doesn't know what Ethan wants him to do. He's not even supposed to be there. They didn't know the Austrian Chancellor was going to be there. There's Ethan. Then there's Ilsa Faust. You don't know if she's good or bad yet. She's aiming at the Austrian Chancellor. Some random other dude in like the sound booth is aiming at the Austrian Chancellor. Ethan is just like fighting people in the rafters. It's like real quiet because the concert is still being, the opera is still being performed. I was very tense during this.
It was such a good scene.
Done. It was good done.
And then
it was talking now. It was good done. I like it. Hey, what, you can't fuck up a building once in a while? It was good done. I like what
Tom
you
Cruise.
They
Tom
did
Cruise,
this
South
movie
Philly's
good.
back.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, South Philly's back. No, it is. And then the one who ends up shooting the Prime Minister is Tom Cruise
knock him
to
down.
save him. And that's what happens. And then you're like, what is Rebecca Ferguson doing here? Like, what's her end game? Because she saves Benji. Like,
You're
it's
gonna
like,
keep calling her Rebecca Ferguson as if that's her character's name.
because I can't. I keep forgetting
Ilsa
Ilsa.
Faust.
I keep thinking
Just say
Elsa.
Elsa. Just say Elsa. It's Frozen.
I know. So then they
She's
get
done.
away.
So in this movie, she's letting it go, and then in 6, she goes into the unknown.
She does go into the
Yeah.
unknown. That's actually a great point. But her deal is she works for the British intelligence,
Shane didn't like that he liked that joke.
and she's that was actually really well done. I have to call it out. So her whole deal is she's working for Solomon Lane, but she's undercover. So she was going to kill the prime minister to keep her cover as a British intelligence.
So she
agent.
was
So you're like, what's going on
in the
here?
Austrian scene, after she let him go, she was a bad guy,
Yes.
and Tom Cruise kind of just
So
nixed it.
there's a cool scene where Tom Cruise saves her, and she's like, "You need to let me go because like I'm undercover." Long story
Yeah.
short, blah blah.
So she just dives out of a car and is perfectly fine.
She's got more bruises than Tom Cruise did after
wouldn't
crashing
get
his
bruised
car.
from jumping out of a car onto like the cobblestone roads that she dove out of. They would be scrapes.
Yes, they would.
But yet
That car was moving,
yet
too.
her bare shoulder from her dress when
Mm-hmm.
she goes into Solomon Lane's like office or hotel room or whatever. Fine.
And she goes in and she goes, "If you don't trust me, then shoot me now." And he does this. She does this to him like 3 times, and he's just like, "No, I can see your potential."
He was just all horned up.
Solomon Lane sounds like Voldemort.
Yeah,
like,
he
all
does.
the
He
time.
really does. And he's so great. He's like a weasel looking.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
I liked him
but
too. He's a
yeah,
good villain.
Especially when he grows his beard. He's
Yeah.
so weaselly looking.
Yeah.
So Solomon Lane, you're like, who's Solomon Lane? As a listener, you're like, who's Solomon Lane? But you should know. But if you watch these movies, he's a former British intelligent, which is why she was there to take him out, because British intelligence doesn't want it getting out that he was a member of theirs and that the syndicate is made up.
This happens later.
Yeah, I'm kinda-
right now, all you know is that he was a former MI6 agent who's gone. Some could say rogue nation.
Rogue on the nation.
Yeah. And he's in charge of this syndicate group.
Yeah,
That
which is
that
made up of former disavowed agents,
from all over the
all
world.
all walks of life.
That Ethan Hunt is trying to stop.
Yep. So the next part is you find out what's Solomon's goal. What does he need? And he needs this code. It's locked away that he can't even get to
In Morocco.
in Morocco. It's in this vault that is this highest security vault ever, where they can't do a mask because Benji wants to do a mask. He's like, I can't do a mask.
They do
because
your eyes.
They do your eyes. They do
fingerprints, I think.
your fingerprints and,
voice,
your
right?
no your maybe your voice
and
and
then your gait, your
the way
walk.
you walk. So to get in, they need to be able for Benji to be able to get in and download it. They need to bypass the server, and to bypass the server, you need to be able to hold your breath for 3.5 minutes to go down.
Do you know what
into
I
this
just
shaft.
realized?
What's that?
That really, It's kind of like their security system is the lyrics to "It's in His Kiss." Right? Like is it in his eyes? Oh no, it's not. Is it in his touch? Is it in his walk? And that's how they figure out if they should get in or not.
Well, that's
If
actually
you want to know
McCrory's favorite
if
song.
he should get into the security system or not, it's in his kiss.
Good to know.
That's where it is.
Well, that's it.
That's your
That wraps the
closing
movie
song.
up. Yeah,
That's
there
your
you go.
Closing song.
That freediving scene was really cool though.
It was awesome. So
That what when they were.
When he's down there.
That's anxiety
Right.
number 2.
yes, so to be able to Benji to get in
It's
and then
called the
hack
Taurus, by the way. That the little like
the tours.
the Taurus is what they call the.
Oh, okay.
Like where all the codes are, where he has to swap the
Yeah.
thing. Because I said in my notes 2 things. I said, looks like they've got themselves an impossible mission in Morocco.
And he's-
'Cause Benji wants all these things. Like, we can't do any of that. You got to hold your breath for 2 minutes.
And-
And that's it. That's all you got.
And they literally say it's impossible, and the camera cuts to Tom Cruise smiling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's all of us. Like we're all like, you know,
Did it
you
again.
know, silly.
But I said I knew something was going to go wrong in there, and it didn't help. When
Obviously.
it did go wrong, me being like, oh, fuck. And I knew there was a 6th movie, so he wasn't going to die.
No.
But it was just,
You knew that there was going to be a 7th and an 8th.
that's
I knew
also
that
true.
Tom
Fair.
Cruise doesn't die. It was like Top Gun Maverick. You knew he wasn't going to die. So the underwater scene allows them to. They need to go underwater, hold their breath for this long to be able to hack the server room. And this underwater thing is this long tube, and it's this underwater, basically like cocoon that has like all these different things, and it's constantly moving, and it cools the software.
Basically, there was like sensors that would pick up metal. Right?
Yeah.
That's why you couldn't have an oxygen tank.
Think of it as a sink drain into a garbage disposal. Like
Yeah.
that's the best way to do it. So to be able to do it, you need to be able to hold your breath for 3 minutes and then exit through the exit valve. So naturally, it doesn't happen in 3 minutes. So it ends up being like 6 minutes or whatever. So filming the underwater scene, what was supposed to take 3 minutes, ends up taking Ethan 6.5 minutes. The scene was shot in one take and had Cruise holding his breath for the entire 6.5 minutes.
What?
So to mimic the jump, he jumped off a 120-foot ledge because there's this giant thing they jump off of into the tube.
like a tube, yeah.
Ledge into the water tunnel, and the water tunnel was CGI, but he did the jump. So at least that's actually like him when they show him. And so the cooling system's arms that swing around were CGI, but everything else was practical and shot in a 20-foot deep water tank. And the final cut had the scene interspersed, like with other scenes. Like we're watching it, we're watching him down there, and it cuts to Benji, whatnot, and other scenes. So it makes it look like it had cuts, but it didn't. That was all one take. It was just filmed in one long take
How
that
the
he did.
fuck did he do that?
I mean, people train. Like Avatar, they like held their breath for like 10 minutes or whatever. Black Panther,
Avatar: The Way of Water.
The Way of Water, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. They did all that stuff, but it's just pretty fucking nuts because you're under there, and I'm like, okay, this is probably done in multiple takes and CGI a lot, but no, it's him underwater. Obviously,
I'm
there's
going
aspects of
through
it.
the whole thing, and I'm like, all right, I would have passed out like a minute ago.
That's the power of Xenu, baby.
It's incredibly anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, drowning's a big one for me. So this whole scene,
So
I
that's
was
my
like,
other thing.
I thought that this was cooler though than the airplane scene.
100%. Drowning is like a big thing.
drowning
for
seems
me.
like it really fucking sucks.
And then when he started like when you choke on your own air,
Yeah.
like that, I think is like
or you go to take a breath and it just water that
yeah, like
sucks.
the idea of drowning is like one of those things that makes me nervous.
And,
Never
like,
afraid,
you-
but just nervous. But
And you knew. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna trace it back to Sonic the Hedgehog, the old second.
Oh, yeah, underwater.
Because when you were underwater, you had like a counter.
Imagine
and
he-
then the music would speed up and it would go boop 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 boop. And
Imagine they put that music on this scene.
I credit that with my anxiety.
I would have
in
to turn it
life.
off.
I think that video game created anxiety for me.
Boop boop boop
Yep.
boop 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 boop,
Yep.
and then he
And-
goes.
Yeah,
And the rings go everywhere.
yeah, embarrassing.
So naturally, he takes the key card out, and then you know he's going to lose it, and he does because he gets hit with the arm. But then he gets saved by Rebecca Ferguson after he does it, and you find
Took her pants off and
and
everything.
that's the side boob I'm talking about. So you find out she's disavowed, but not really. I guess we can kind of.
Well, then she
can turn.
turns.
Well, then he goes outside and he's wearing a shirt Because he,
No,
he's
she
died. He
kills him.
died.
She
Yeah,
kills-
he's died.
He died. She brings him back to life.
He
kind of a big deal. Man.
Yeah, that's right. He died, and she brings him back to life by like resuscitating him, and then he puts on the shirt that looks like it's from Dan Flash's.
A lot of padding.
My note is, I repeat, Ferguson is a babe, tits and butt.
That's a fantastic note.
Yeah.
So then now we go to the next chase where the car flips a bunch of times and he's
Dude,
fine.
Unbelievable. I actually just looked it up to watch it again. It's just insane what they do with this car. You got hot motorcycle action, although, again, motorcycle scenes do nothing for me. At least we have a car in this. If you have a car and a motorcycle, I can live with it. Motorcycle chasing motorcycle, what are you doing if you catch them?
You're throwing yourself at them.
Hey, you're jumping off yours. But yeah, so flippy, airbags go off. They're just like, you can tell that they were in some kind of like simulator and they were flipping around. They have the most faith. And then they both just get out. They just walk out.
Yeah, they just walk out.
away.
Nothing happened.
Just walk away.
Everybody
from this car
walks away.
accident. Benji, a little banged up. But that's about it.
So each step of the way, Solomon thwarts them. No matter what happens.
There is
Things
this cool
just-
scene because I'm watching it right now. They flip the car. The dude comes up to assassinate him, and Luther just hits him with the truck.
So you find out that Solomon's just after money. It's 4 billion pounds that would allow the syndicate to operate for years.
Like big time, baby.
Don't they say decades?
Yeah. So
Which doesn't seem like that much money if we're getting being
no,
honest.
no. So
As
the
far
whole
as like what they're trying to get done.
yeah.
doesn't seem
So
like a lot of money.
also in the chase scene, Benji now has the drive with the data that they need. She steals it, gives it to the head of British intelligence to get back in there. He's like, no, you have to go back in there, and he wipes the file. So when she gives the
Head of
file to
British
Solomon,
Intelligence,
yeah,
nothing on it. He's a slime ball.
yep. And then, so he gives it to Solomon. He again is just like, I'm giving you another chance.
So right around here, when she meets the MI6 like commissioner guy, I think there's probably 40 minutes left in the movie. Mm-hmm. And I said at that point, this movie is very slow, but it's not boring, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, it just took a long time. It didn't feel long, but it was long.
Yeah.
But I was also, like, invested. It was a weird thing where, like...
It's not a quick watch, but it's not boring.
Exactly. Like, I thought that tour scene, the chase scene, like, all right, yeah, we're going to get to a big finish. And then they, like... That was the end of Act 2, and there's a whole other act to get through. And I like looked at the time, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like there's 40 minutes left. So it was just like it takes a while.
Yeah.
But it's not longer than the others, I don't think. Like
It's right
about
in line.
the same time.
The next one's the longest one.
2:27, I think
Yeah.
the last one was.
So Ving Rhames shows up. Oh yeah. So they're in the train station, and they know they've been set up for Solomon, and Rebecca Ferguson's going to
They,
betray
like,
them.
Surround her, yeah.
So
Elsa
Elsa Faust. And so William Brandt and Ethan Hunt go running, and Ving Rhames is minutes behind them, but he runs and he's right behind them. And I'm like, no shot at Ving Rhames, but he's not keeping pace with them two running. He's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Number one fan Nick would keep up.
And we kind of get to the end where now they have this big plan to prove that the syndicate's real, that British intelligence created the syndicate, because you find out that Solomon Lane was doing this. It was an idea from the British government or the British
So
intelligence.
that guy, the MI6 leader, created the idea of the syndicate. The prime minister was like, no, shut it down. They need the prime minister's, like... That's where we find all this stuff out. They need the prime minister, his signature, his eye...
They need his eye.
His eye, and then his voice code, too.
Mhm.
They
Yep.
need him to say words. So they have to, like, somehow corner the prime minister. Then you find out that, like, none of this was supposed to exist.
Yeah.
And the MI6 agent let it... Or the guy who's in charge let it happen. And now Solomon Lane is running wild with it.
Yep. And then it just comes down to money, and Tom Cruise has everything on the computer, and he memorizes all of the
So before you get there, right?
transactions.
So this is like the cool sequence. This is where Alec Baldwin becomes like a part of it, because it's like Alec Baldwin and Brandt. So it's the secretary. He's not the secretary yet.
He's the head of the CIA.
He's the head of CIA. I forget his name. Holden or something or other. Hunley. Alan Hunley. And then it's Brandt. And then it's the Prime Minister of England and the MI6 like head guy.
Yeah.
And Alan Hunley, Alec Baldwin, delivers the line about how Ethan Hunt is he's gonna come to get them, and he's like, we have to protect you because they know that he's. Brandt at this point is like, we can't do this. We can't do this to the Prime Minister. We have to warn him. Hunt says no. Brandt's a traitor. Then we're like, oh man, he snuck in. He told him what was going to happen. And Alan Hunley says, Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny, and he has made you his mission.
Yep. Yeah.
Fuck off with that line. The living manifestation of destiny?
He is.
I wonder who wrote that.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, absolutely. Either
He's a
Tom
guy.
Cruise or Xenu, one of the two.
One
wrote
and the
that.
same.
Then you find out that the MI6 like head was just Tom Cruise in a mask.
Yep. Mask are back, baby.
Masks are back. Alan Hunley.
There was
First chance playing Halloween, and then everything works out.
Yeah.
For now, that's where he memorizes shit. Now it's like
So now-
Benji's got the bomb strapped to him at the table
With Ilsa Faust.
with
and
Rebecca Ferguson.
And Rebecca Ferguson and Tom Cruise goes and confronts them, and talks to them, and basically
Says like, I have all the information you want, but it's
up here.
right
We
up here
we
in
deleted
the
the
dome.
drive, and he's like, and he calls his bluff because they are like, how did you memorize that? And he's like, I did it. Or does he even say that? I don't even know if he says
think
that.
he-
I think he calls his bluff though.
yeah, I think he,
'Cause he,
pretty
like,
sure he
admits.
says he was bluffing.
And then it leads to a chase, and they trap him in a glass case of emotion.
kind of like how they got Tom Cruise in the beginning. Bye Bone Doctor. What I did realize towards the end of this film, Ilsa Faust's like go-to form of fighting is to just get her legs around your face.
I would be okay with that.
But like every fight she gets into, she somehow gets up onto your shoulders, and then she
Whips around.
whips you down to the ground.
I did say that the bad guys have worse aim than stormtroopers.
It doesn't stop. She does it like 4 times in this movie. I just didn't notice till the
It just
end.
always looks awesome.
But then when
That's
you
like a
watch the
trope.
6th film, it's nonstop. She's constantly like getting onto guys'
The
shoulders.
Black Widow signature move.
Yes,
Yeah.
but all the time.
I think it's
start
just
a rumor that Avengers ripped off
Mission Impossible.
Man.
But then this whole end scene, they catch Solomon, they get Atlee from British intelligence to admit to the head of CIA that the syndicate is real, and
Hunley becomes a secretary.
and the IMF
Everything
is back.
works out. What a happy end.
No, the secretary is that's how it ends,
Alec Baldwin becomes a secretary.
and then that's how it ends. And we are going to cut here. There's a lot in one episode, so we're going to give you 4 and 5 here, and we'll give you another episode at 6. And so, what did you guys think of 5?
I'm still going to put it at a 4.
Yeah, I think it
I
was
don't
better
think it's
than
better
4.
to be I feel like a half star is so much different.
It is.
You
It's
know
a
what I
huge
mean? So
difference.
it's a better 4.
Yeah.
It's 4 shifting to like 4 1/4.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one was like 3 3/4 shifting to 4. But it's still a 4. Entertaining, like I said, long.
Okay.
Felt long, but not boring, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
4.1 out of 5.
Illegal procedure.
We're doing
Did
4,
my
4
brother-
and a half.
And I liked it. I liked
4.
it. I liked
He
it
did
about
4
the same
again?
as 4.
Yeah, you like
very
the 4.
good.
The action's just so fucking good.
Yeah.
They up the ante again. I just feel like they just
The
continue to
syndicate
improve.
makes it cooler.
The syndicate's
knowing that there's
awesome.
like this big conglomerate and not just a random bad guy, like that made it cool.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, me
It's not
too.
just one guy. Where
Like there is the one guy who's running it all, but like
yeah. But
For
I
sure.
like that there's like this whole network of bad guys basically. That's like the anti-IMF.
Yep.
I like that a lot.
Me too. I gave this one 4.5. I just think it's so good. I think it's definitely an improvement on the last one. And if I had to rank them, it goes 5, 4, 3, 1, 2. And I feel like you guys would probably agree with that. They just get better as they
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
on.
One
Except
yes,
for 2.
1 and 2 I don't really care. You can interchange them, but
Yeah.
the rest of that ranking, yes.
1 is just better because 2 just ages so poorly. Mm-hmm. It's just such a hey, this is the 2000s.
Yeah. And I will take my impossible mission in the next part. Thank you for.
I fucking hope you get milk.
So you guys all have to tune in to our next episode to see if we do that. Remember to rate, like, and subscribe. We'll be back with the Mission Impossible rewatch finale before Dead Reckoning soon. Thank you guys for listening.